leave a message if y'all can see me. I'm trying to see if I can get on Instagram today. Let's see if it's gonna work out here. I don't know. I'm gonna try though. Hey Marvel, Selena. I'm early today because okay, well, a second, looks like I might be live. Okay, I'm up live. Hey. Hey Margie's daughter. Okay. Justin, what up, homie? I see you. I don't know how long you gonna stay, but I see you. Not gonna be able to comment on my Instagram. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Let me catch up. Y'all already going. Hold on. Leon, what up? Friday Eve, hello. Yes, I'm off work tomorrow. They worked my black ass today though, Chad. I'm supposed to be doing a half day. And yet here I am working all goddamn day. Who got time for that? Not me. Hey Shantae, Anne Marie, Tony, Delonte says that damn title is killing me. You know, I had to get it to 100 characters, so I had to be a little bit more shady and impactful with my title. But I'm about to get into it. Hey B Dizzo, Fandom, Luthaza. I was just tuning into a bit about Gloria and Kamala Harris. I passed. Hard pass. I love me some Kamala Child, but she on 50 million things. I'll catch her another time. Hey, Sam, Jan, Chris. Ooh, okay, Chris. All that. Jackie, Derek, H, Janet, Deanna, Dan, Leon. Okay, Christy. Okay, I can't say hi to everybody. Hello, Cheryl. Ray. Okay. Jason. Okay, let me get into it. So there's a couple of things. Hey, Chalk Bread. I see y'all on Instagram. I don't know. I'm gonna try to keep the view in mind. It's very, very zoomed in on Instagram. Let's see. Hey, Miss Cardio Queen. Okay. Hey everybody. Hey all y'all. So let's get into a couple things, okay? Because I got I have Roland Martin at 6 p.m. Eastern, but I couldn't just keep it to I just couldn't keep it to just half an hour. So I said, let me go ahead and hop on here early. So let's talk about two things. Let's start off with Elizabeth Harriet Tubman Warren. Did y'all see that Washington Post article? They're trying so hard to try to make fetch happen with Elizabeth Warren. None of the polls is coming out of her favors anymore. Y'all know I don't believe in living by the polls or dying by the polls, y'all know that. But I just think it's very, very disingenuous and gaslighting how they sit up there trying to make her out to be the Black Harriet Tubman. Ida B. Wells, she all that. I need to see some receipts. I invite anybody in this chat to bring some receipts. Let me go on ahead. I'm going to deconstruct this goddamn article, which is some bullshit. And I promise you, I don't even be setting out to drag Elizabeth Warren. I will leave her the fuck alone if y'all didn't make her out to be the Martin Luther King. Y'all trying to make her out to be Coretta Scott King. It's too much. You go too far with it. And then now you have to make me try to pull your card. If y'all would say, you know what, Elizabeth Warren is all about banking and bankruptcy and consumer protections, and that's why I like her, I wouldn't even have nothing to say about that. I'd be like, that's her zhuzh. That's her thing. But when y'all sit up there and try to gaslight motherfuckers and act like this woman is sitting up here gonna lead us to the promised land, I can't abide by that. That's too much foolishness. Let me pull up this Washington Post article. And you know, it's no shade to Erin. I think she did a good job with the article. She writes very fair articles, especially on Kamala Harris. So I have no problem with her. I know that the Washington Post hasn't published anything from Jennifer Rubin's ass lately, huh? Because y'all know she pro Kamala. I guess she done been sidelined. But let me deconstruct what this says. I'm not even gonna read anything that Elizabeth Warren has to say, but let me get into what this says. Black Lives Matter co-founder Alicia Garza, who has called for a black woman to be Biden's running mate, endorsed a campaign for Warren, okay, during the 2020 primary, has frequently spoken to the senator on issues of race and policy. This is where I have an issue. She has been, for a long time, doing a lot of work around understanding systemic racism. Doing a lot of work around understanding. So she's coming to an understanding about it. Garza says she could motivate progressives in such a way that brings people together around race, class, and gender. That's a personal opinion. You are entitled to that. If Biden needs, now this is where I really have a problem. If Biden wins, he needs Warren at his side because, frankly, I don't see how, without her leadership, black communities are going to get much. What? Girl? Fuck is you talking about? What have we gotten, the blacks, with Elizabeth Warren 7 whole ass years of Congress? I've walked through this with y'all. Y'all remember when we went to congress.gov? Y'all remember that, right? We walked through her record. Where is the black shit from Elizabeth Warren? I want to know. I've been asking. I've looked for it. I haven't found it. Maybe y'all know it. Her leadership, without her leadership is already, you already starting off wrong, because what is she a leader in exactly? Certainly not anything involving race or civil rights. Okay? But then you say without her leadership, black communities aren't going to get much. Girl, let's have a conversation. Because you smarter than that. I know you smarter than that. But let's go on ahead. I'm going to park that. But let me just be clear. I invite anybody in the comments, and y'all pointed out if y'all see it, to explain to me, number one, going back, what has she been doing for a long time? I haven't seen it. To understanding systemic racism. So it's something she has to read about. It's academic for her. Not something she understands. We know she claimed to be a Native American till she was 70 years old. But even that didn't inform her sense of what systemic racism looks like. She had no parts of it when she was in what was that university? They wrote up an article about her, and she didn't want to get involved in the tenure discussions when it came to minorities and to women. She didn't want no part. She said, "Bitch, please." She's a leader. She's been combating it. No, she's just been understanding it. Well, that's fine if you have an understanding. A lot of people have an understanding about systemic racism. Girl. But let me get into it, because to be honest, and this is what's so interesting to me about these pro-Warren articles, to me, they'd be making her look worse if you really look at it, if you really critically thinking about what she's talking about. Warren acknowledged that she didn't spend much time growing up thinking about systemic racism, but said she had spent much of her life catching up, using her privilege to confront institutions of power on behalf of marginalized communities. She didn't spend much time thinking about it. Look at the privilege in that. She didn't spend much time thinking about it. It wasn't really a thing for her in white-ass Oklahoma. She spent much of her life catching up. At what point? Because she was a Republican until she was 47 years old. And she's had varying stories, or I should say, I've heard conflicting reports about how involved she was in being a Republican. Her homegirl, I pointed this out before, said that she was a staunch Republican. She was very conservative. She told Charlamagne and them that she didn't really know why she was a Republican. I don't really know. So she can't even get her goddamn story together on what the fuck, how she was a Republican. So she caught up. She spent much of her life catching up. Catching up? You still ain't caught up. Using her privilege to confront institutions of power on behalf of marginalized communities. When? What specifically? On behalf of who? I know that she was a part of somebody else who wrote this article, Erin Haynes. And Erin Haynes is a brilliant writer. This is no shade to her. But let's talk about the receipts they have, because I'm going to give you some of the receipts. Okay, she established the Consumer Financial Protections Bureau. That's fine. But what the fuck did that do, though? Kamala Harris's mortgage settlement of $20 billion is more than cumulatively what This Consumer Protections Bureau has returned to consumers. Check that seat. Go ahead and fact check me. She just tweeted about it a couple days ago when the Supreme Court ruled. And guess what? The number that she gave was lower than Kamala Harris's record $20 billion settlement. I know people like to do the white math when it comes to Elizabeth Warren, but check the facts. But at the end of the day, her Consumer Financial Protections Bureau is a rising tide lifts all boats type of thing. It's not something specific for the Black community. I don't begrudge somebody. I don't say, well, you know, if you didn't do it specifically for the Black community, then that means that it don't count. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is don't anoint somebody as our champion, our queen. She's our queen. She's our Shirley Chisholm. That's where you take it too motherfucking far. That's when I gotta go ahead and be like, wait, what? Before I get away from this, okay? Before I get away from this, I also want to bring up a point I thought about too. Now she says, let me rewind. She says that she's been doing a lot of work. Alicia Garza says Warren has been doing a lot of work around understanding. Okay, understanding. That's that. But she says if Biden wins, he needs Warren at his side because frankly, I don't see how without her leadership, Black communities are going to get much. Here's the thing. Don't tell me what you finna do. Tell me what you have done. I want to see what you have done. And what I've seen from Elizabeth Warren is a person who just in time has done certain things. She got her Black community cliff notes, probably from people like Alicia Garza, people she's had conversation with. Somebody cited a conversation she had with Ta-Nehisi Coates 6 motherfucking years ago that she did nothing with on reparations as some sort of goddamn evidence of her long time push for change. A conversation is a push for change. That was impactful because she had a private conversation with Ta-Nehisi Coates. That did what for Black people? Not a motherfucking thing. Matter of fact, when reparations was introduced in the Senate, HR 40 Commission, it was introduced by Senator Cory Booker in 2019. Well, goddamn, if you had a conversation, Elizabeth Warren, with Ta-Nehisi Coates 6 motherfucking years ago, why the hell didn't your motherfucking ass introduce HR 40? 6 years ago, you said you agree with HR 40 and the thoughts behind it. Well, why the hell didn't you goddamn introduce it? Matter of fact, you weren't even an original co-sponsor on HR 40 Commission when the Senate bill came up. So I'm trying to figure out where the hell all of Elizabeth Warren's goddamn receipts are. A conversation is not a receipt. A conversation is not a receipt. I'm sorry. But anyway, let's talk about deeds. Let's talk about actions. Now, if you're truly about dismantling systemic racism, shouldn't it start in your own campaign, in your own office? Now, recall, I don't know if I have it handy anymore, but I think y'all might recall when I brought up the fact that Senator Elizabeth Warren's diversity was pretty low on her Senate staff. She brought it up. I don't know if y'all remember. I know it was a while ago, Chair. I probably should have kept them notes. I don't think I did, though. But she brought it up. I think she brought it up to like, what, 50-something%, 40-something% diversity? Do y'all recall? It was in the 40s, if I recall correctly. But at any rate, it was much lower than Kamala Harris. Much lower than Cory Booker, Brian Schatz. And she had been in the Senate for longer. So that's one. But okay, once she got her numbers up because she was going up against 2 Black people and a person, people of color. In the campaign, she said, okay, let me go ahead and get some Blackies. Let me add some Blackies to my staff. Which is fine. And that was a wise move. That was a very wise move. She had some very talented Black people working for her. I have no shade whatsoever for any Black person out there that's getting a coin, that's in a position of power. I want to see you work for anybody. I don't give a damn who it is. If you work for Republicans, that's fine. Bring their ass the fuck along. But change starts at home. Get your own house in order, right? So, okay, so she went on ahead and she hired some more Black people for her staff. She hired a Black woman chief of staff. That was big. It was literally weeks before she announced her candidacy. Woo, that was good time, girl. That was smart. That was clever. I have always given Elizabeth Warren credit for being an exceptional marketer. Cause they said she has a plan for that, like she a fucking expert at everything. She's a bankruptcy expert. She's a consumer protections expert. She ain't no motherfucking civil rights expert, but she has a plan for that. Yeah. But she went on ahead and she hired a black woman chief of staff just in time for the campaign. Just in time. That woman was bad. Woo, she was good. But then what had happened? As soon as Elizabeth Warren lost 19 out of 19 states after a $140 million campaign, never placing above third place. In South Carolina, she's supposed to be so popular with the blacks. She placed in 5th. And she got 5% of the black vote. So she said, you know what, I'm done with you black ass motherfuckers. This campaign is over. See you later. Bye. When the black momnibus bill came out, her ass was nowhere to be found. Not on stage, nah. It was white people on that stage. She could have been up there. She was like, she wasn't here for it. She signed on. She signed her name somewhere, Chad. She didn't tweet about it. But she signed on to it. Okay, that's fine. That's your champion. That's your queen. But explain to me how this woman that's going to champion black people, that's going to champion ending systemic racism, got rid of her 2 black high-level staffers. Her black woman chief of staff kicked her ass to the curb 2 weeks after she dropped out. What the fuck? Now people say, well, it was a voluntary thing. She resigned. Why the fuck would a black woman in the middle of a goddamn pandemic resign from her motherfucking job? When you're in Congress and you're working for a high-powered senator, chief of staff is about as good as it gets. Where the fuck? Why would she have resigned from that? Unless there was some sort of abuse. I know that you're not suggesting that it was a toxic work environment, are you? That would be a story. So you mean to tell me this black woman who had only really been on the chief of staff for a year and some change said, you know what? Coronavirus is here. Bye, bitches. I don't want to be chief of staff anymore. I'm going to downgrade to this coronavirus position. And let this white man come on in who was your campaign manager or whatever the fuck the motherfucker was. Let this white man come in and be chief of staff and I'm going to be over here in the corner. Back of the bus till you go. Y'all can't be that stupid. Now, if the black lady has some big badass motherfucking, high power job with Google, yes, I'm going from Elizabeth Warren. I'm going to be chief of policy over here. I'm going to make this coin. I would say, yes. Okay, Liz can't do nothing about that. But that ain't what had happened. That ain't what happened. Okay, so that's one. Then she had an interim black legislative director. He got demoted. He got demoted down to education. So there are several things. Okay, most charitable thing. All of a sudden, in the middle of the pandemic, child, these black motherfuckers who got a good high-ranking position in a prestigious Senate office decided they don't want these jobs anymore, even though they didn't have nothing else lined up. They're going to take a demotion. They're going to go to the back of the bus. And they cool with that. You could believe that. But even if you were to believe that, where is your pipeline of blacks? Since you're a champion, you're the queen, you're the blacks, you're the white savior. You're going to institutionalize racism. So where are your blackies at? Where are your black motherfuckers at? Where's your pipeline of black people? Woo! That's who y'all trust. You trust a woman who hired a black woman for her chief of staff right as she ran for president, who got rid of that same black woman as soon as she dropped the fuck out. That's the person that's going to champion our issues. To me, that's exactly what these folks do. Thank you, Blackie. You're dismissed. I don't need my Blackie accessories anymore. It looked real good for the campaign. Essence did a nice map write-up. Black Enterprise did a nice write-up. But I don't need your black ass anymore. Goodbye. Let me bring my white man back over here and have him run this ship. That's who you trust? I question your discernment if that's who you trust over the black woman. You say, I don't see how black people get anything without her leadership. And her leadership is to boot the blacks the fuck up out the office as soon as they're of no use to her anymore. Y'all marinate on that. Y'all explain to me how she gonna champion motherfucking institutionalized racism in the whole ass country and she ain't even tackled the shit in her own Senate office. That's your queen. That's why I say receipts, not rhetoric. Okay, let me get back to this article. Warren, 71, first learned about the economic devastation to black families as a young professor studying the impact of bankruptcy. I told y'all she's a bankruptcy expert. As senator, she created an agency to protect consumers with an eye toward racial disparities inherent towards Great Recession. That's probably an overstatement. In her platform and policies as presidential candidate, she took into account the effects of systemic racism. Well, yeah, but I mean PDFs. That's fine. Everybody had PDFs, child. What have you done? Let me see. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna skip to some of this part. Her argument that structural change is needed to end racism could be key to her appeal, particularly in the country's moment of national reckoning. Oh, remember structural change? Remember when she was in South Carolina and the white lady asked her about structural change within the Democratic primary process of not having Iowa and New Hampshire go first? And what did she say? I'm just a player in the game. That's your queen? I'm just a player in the game, Warren. I forgot about that. That just reminded me. So you didn't even want big structural change in the primary process in such a way that didn't disadvantage the white people or disadvantage the black people. You was like, oh, you expect me to sit up here and insult Iowa in front of these, just for these black motherfuckers? That was the tone check. Y'all gotta go back and watch that clip. It was an environmental justice forum in South Carolina, and she was indignant that this white lady asked her about changing the order of the primaries. So this is where I say again, there's a disconnect. How are you gonna champion big structural change for black people in the whole ass country when you didn't even want to co-sign any kind of structural change in the primary system? And your ass still lost in Iowa. You still lost in New Hampshire. Woo, child. What did she get in New Hampshire? She get 5th place? Was it 5th? Let me see, because it was, I think, did Bernie win New Hampshire? Okay, Bernie won, and then it was Pete Buttigieg, and it was Amy Klobuchar. Now, was it Biden and then Liz, or was it Liz and then Biden? I feel like she was in 5th place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. So it didn't really help you out, girl. She took 3rd place in Iowa, so she could have went on ahead and threw black motherfuckers a bone and said, well, yeah, we should change the order of things. Julio Castro said it. She will not even co-sign structural change in the primaries. But that's your queen that you trust to co-sign and actually champion structural change in real life just because that's her fucking slogan. But what have you done? Let me get back to this. Then I'm going to move on. She had the whole Native American thing. Like I said, I'm not going to speak for the Native American community. I let them speak for themselves. That's a whole nother ass mess. So I'm going to let them speak for that. They've been very vocal about it. But I'm going to skip on that. Let's see. Many are open to joining the ticket because of her decades-long commitment to dismantling institutional racism, said Garza, who was a whatever. She does not have a decades-long commitment to dismantling institutional racism. That's a flat-out fucking lie. There's no receipts for that. She has written some articles, and that includes statistics about how black people were impacted by bankruptcy or whatever the fuck. At most, if I'm being charitable, I would say she's had a 2-year commitment. No, a 1.5 year long commitment. And commitment is a very strong word. Let's see. Let me go back. It was something else that said here. Oh yeah, Harry Warren goes again. My family wasn't very political growing up, but I listened and I recognized there's a privilege in not being political. Didn't I say that? So anybody who had a problem with me saying that she said it too. When I started doing research and listening to people's stories, the deeper I got into it, the more I started seeing the racial element of it. Oh my God. Child. This is who y'all want to champion black people, as somebody who needed the Cliff Notes. The black people commit Cliff Notes. Y'all want somebody who has listening sessions with black people. Oh, she listens so well. She listens so well. But she listened to me. She got a group of us black women in the room, and she listened to us very intently. She didn't do shit with it, but she listened, and I felt really good. She's listening to me. Y'all too fucking easily impressed. You too fucking easily impressed with my taste. I don't need a motherfucker to listen to me and humor me. I don't need to be humored. I need you to know what the fuck you're talking about. Then it said Warren talked with the country's first black president about the impact of the 2008 recession on black and Latino families. Okay, she had a conversation, so what? During the 2020 primaries, Warren frequently addressed race. Her policies on issues including blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Okay, in a notable speech after the November debate, Warren connected the story of a black washerwoman strike in Atlanta at the turn of the 20th century to the current day need for black and white women to unite for progress. Y'all thought that's a feather in her cap that she gave a speech about black women at the turn of the 19th century? 20th century. Black washerwoman, no shade to black washerwoman. You ain't talking about black astronauts. You ain't talking about black nobody. You went all the fuck the way back to talk about some black washerwoman. That's what you feel like. That's how you're going to connect to us. And she gave a speech. Did she give a town hall where she asked questions? No, because she doesn't have any cultural competency. I wasn't impressed by the speech. And then what happened when the black people at the rally, they got rowdy, child. Y'all remember how rowdy they got at her rally? Well, she was all stuck on stupid chair. She was a deer in fucking headlights. And Ayanna came to her rescue, child. She said, what are we going to do with this? That's what Warren said to Ayanna. Ayanna had to calm down the blacks. Simmer down, blackies. A white woman is talking. I love Ayanna, but that's what happened. Y'all go back and watch the tape. That wasn't a successful appearance, if you ask me. Elizabeth Warren cannot actually have an interaction with black people that's not people that are there to be humored by her. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I want a brother, but okay. Somebody seems to think that that's a feather in her cap. She gave a speech on motherfucking black women from the 1920s who were washing clothes or some shit. Skip the whole other century of shit that motherfucking black women have been doing, child. She didn't see Hidden Figures, apparently. Anyways. Okay, I'm gonna skip to some of this. This is another interesting thing. This is interesting. Activist Brittany Packnett Cunningham first met Warren in person at the beginning of the primary in 2019 over tea at the Senator's Washington Park. Isn't that nice? She had tea with Senator Warren. She recalled Warren as someone who, quote, had more questions than answers and who was intentional and curious. More questions than answers? Who got time for that? Y'all got time for that? She's just curious. Oh, well, tell me about your black ass experience. I want to know. I don't know anything about it. So you tell me. Let's have some tea. Let's have some sips. Tell me about your black ass shit that you got going on. What is it? What is it like to be a black in America? Pinkies up. Cheryl? She had more questions than answers. Well, we don't have time for training wheels. What we gonna do? Biden said it's gonna be him and one other motherfucker in a room with him at the end of the day. Black people ain't gonna have no spokesperson if she got all the questions and none of the motherfucking answers. That's your queen? Brittany didn't say that's her queen. I'm talking about somebody else. That's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I'm gonna say. It's other shit up in here. That's fine. All I have to say is this. I don't have time for training wheels. I don't have time for questions. I don't have time for your curiosity. Your ass should have been curious the first 69 years of your motherfucking life. Now all of a sudden you turn 70 and you want to have a racial awakening? Who got time for that? That's not somebody that I think is equipped. Even by her supporters, she doesn't sound equipped to me to rise to this moment of racial reckoning. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for Elizabeth Warren to get on her text with her homegirls and be like, hey, what do I say in this black shit? Let me move on to my last topic. Because I have a very, very strong juxtaposition to make. I know, I'm sorry, I'm not. Normally I read off your comments and I'm more interactive. I'm sorry, because I know I'm on a tangent. But this is going to be one of those tangent days. I apologize. Before I get to that, let me just, I was going to say one quick thing about that Slate article. Susan, what's the bitch name? Susan, Watson or Susan, whatever the fuck, wrote this super racist ass motherfucking article. All of a sudden now, the vice presidency ain't shit because they are starting to accept that it's most likely not going to be a white woman that's going to be VP. I'm not vouching for the Democratic Party like that. But, now all of a sudden, the VP ain't shit, so Kamala could go ahead and be the funky ass little VP. And we can have Warren be the majority leader. Okay, bitch, whatever it is that you have to tell yourself for you to feel better and come to terms with it, that's fine. That's fine. But I did take issue how she said that that Kamala Harris didn't run a good campaign. Because my question is, well, did Elizabeth Warren? Because she lost 19 out of 19 races. She raised $140 million. She never placed above third, including her home state. So, Susan, was that a good campaign? When she sat up there and she reinvented herself first, she was all, Bernie's plan is my plan when it comes to Medicare for all. And then she released a plan for Medicare for all that had some math that didn't add up. There's that white math. And then she turned around and basically before she dropped out, she was practically talking about motherfucking Joe Biden's plan. A public option for the first 4 years, and then she's going to try for Medicare for all at the end of her first 4 years. Oh, what the fuck? Oh, she also flip-flopped on goddamn super PACs. So, was that a successful campaign? Don't talk about Kamala not having a successful campaign unless you don't talk about all these other motherfuckers who didn't have a successful campaign. Bernie, $200 million, the motherfucker lost. Elizabeth Warren, $140 million, her ass motherfucker lost. Never won a race. Never won a race. That's not successful unless you go by white math. But anyway, let me move on to something positive because guess what? When we're talking about receipts, and that's what I've always been about. I've always said, show me the receipts. Not the PDFs, not the plans. Let me put some lipstick on. I need a little bit more color. I done talked all the motherfucking color off my lips, child. Shit, if anybody clip this and be mad about it, at least I could have been dragging a bitch with my goddamn lipstick popping a little bit more. I gotta put on some eyeliner and some mascara before I go on rolling. Okay. I'm set. Where's the Boston Herald though to finish dragging Elizabeth Warren's ass? Anyway, let me get back to what I was going to talk about because there's some positive news. Basically, where I was heading towards is this. When you have receipts Yes, I'm married, Chris. Chill. If you want to hear some creep shit, this ain't for you, chill. That ain't what I'm about. My husband is actually on Instagram. Hey, hubby. When you have receipts, then you have people that back you up, people that recognize and make a substantive case for you. So something I would say probably pretty unprecedented happened. One of the largest Spanish newspapers, the La Opinion, endorsed Kamala Harris for the vice presidency. Y'all clap it up. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about receipts. And I've said this many times. I've said this many times. Kamala Harris doesn't just have receipts in the black community, which is important to me as a black woman, obviously. But she has receipts in various communities. She has receipts in the Latino community. She has receipts in the AAPI community. And it's not just an identity. It's not just a cosmetic. It's not just a symbol. When you're talking about racism and institutionalized racism and our societal racism, Kamala Harris has receipts for every community. Period, baby. Period. So the La Opinion endorsed Kamala Harris. A black woman getting endorsed by a Latino newspaper. Get into it. Get into it. A black woman. A black woman. Yes. Yes, Kamala. That's what you do when you have decades of combating institutionalized racism. Decades. Now, it was in Spanish, child, so you know the Latino community is getting it popping. They reading this shit. They know what the fuck they talking about. Yes. I'm not fluent in Spanish, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Google Translate. And I'm going to read it, and I'm going to have to hop off because I have to prepare for Roland Martin. But let me go on ahead in case you hadn't seen. I'm going to go ahead and read this endorsement. It's my kind of endorsement, child, because it has receipts, honey. It has receipts. From La Opinion. This is today. Breaking news, child. Throughout the history of our country, the election of a running mate for vice president by a presidential candidate has been a complex game of chess where I wish I could speak Spanish. I bet you this shit is popping in Spanish, child. I had a little bit of Spanish, but I would be butchering the fuck out of it. But I hope somebody, one of my Latino followers, I love y'all, go ahead and maybe make a video and read this edit, the endorsement in Spanish, okay? But I'm gonna read it in English. I'm gonna use the Google Translate. Where both political and personal elements are mixed. The absence of divisive or negative attributes prevails in this considerations. It matters which community the person represents, their popularity, their status, and numerous other topics. This is what Joe Biden's facing these days. The alleged Democratic, why are you saying alleged? Okay, this is Google Translate, so some of this shit might be shady, okay? Maybe it means the presumptive Democratic presidential candidate is deciding who is his best running mate to confront and beat Donald Trump on November 3rd. This is perhaps the single most important decision of your campaign. By pledging the candidate is a woman and stating her preference for an African American, it is essential to make a choice that is correct, that impresses and excites. Okay, I cut some shit off, chill, but okay. Anyway, I cut off a sentence, but go ahead and read it. Let me pick up where I have the screenshot. While other candidates are respectable and have their own unique advantages, none, this is what the La Opinion is saying, it's not my words, none have the sum of Harris's attributes as a politician, as a person, and as a leader. Woo! Y'all share this article. This is from La Opinion. Kamala Harris represents California, the most populous state in the country, and the Senate since January 2017. Previously, she was Attorney General for the state of California for 6 years and San Francisco for another 7. And during all these years, Kamala Harris has been an ally of the Latino community. Let them tell it. These are some of the legislative actions that she proposed alone or together with other legislators in 3 years for the benefit of our community. In immigration matters, she proposed a DACA plan that would use the executive authority so that dreamers have access to citizenship, expand it, and protect the families of those young people on a case-by-case basis. Somebody was paying attention. She proposed ensuring that undocumented immigrants and refugees detained at the border receive legal aid. She denounced the policy of separation and detention of children in cages before others and asked for the resignation of then Secretary of Homeland Security, was it Homeland Security, Christian Nielsen, for implementing it. She proposed laws to control ICE and border control and border patrol immigration policies, including the Dunn law that would cut the detention levels, and the Reunite law to transfer ICE funds to reunification of separated families. Regarding the pandemic, she proposed the Coronavirus Immigrant Families Protection Act so that the test and their treatment apply to all communities regardless of their immigration status. And to mitigate the economic crisis that our people are suffering, she proposed to provide $125 billion to businesses with 10 or less employees. 90% of Latino businesses are small businesses. In addition, the Vote Safe Act has been advanced that advocates that finances absentee voting by mail, extends early voting by 20 days, and facilitates access for voters for whom English is their second language. She leads the effort for police reform, including a bill that would ban chokeholds and the establishment of a standard to control the use of police force. Some of this is translated, yes. Some of these words don't make sense on this face. Advances laws in defense of domestic and farm workers. Y'all remember that? The Domestic Bill of Rights. That was the first time that had ever been introduced in the Senate. Kamala Harris did that. The list goes on. The display shows the importance of Kamala Harris being the Democratic vice presidential candidate. She is an energetic and courageous leader. Kamala Harris deserves the support and that of our community at these crucial moments in our history. We ask Joe Biden to choose Kamala Harris. Did y'all catch all of that? That's called receipts, not rhetoric. Not PDFs, receipts, being there doing the work. They didn't even get into all of the things that she did as Attorney General, which was many, many things. But I appreciate that article because what's missing in a lot of the pictures for Elizabeth Warren, particularly as it relates to her so-called championing of racial issues, are receipts. I see that y'all like to sit up there and go ahead and post that little Black Agenda for America, that PDF chair. She ain't done none of that shit that she talking about in that motherfucking article. The whole 7 ass years that she been in Congress, in the Senate. What have you done? What did Kamala Harris say? Where have you been and what have you done? That's what I want to know. That's what I'm trusting. Not you got this black person to come and co-sign for you. I don't need you. I don't need black people co-signing you. I need to see what the fuck you've done so I can make my own decision. But shout out to Senator Kamala Harris because that's one hell of a motherfucking endorsement. And that's on an endorsement because she kissed enough ass because she had tea with the right people. That's an endorsement because of decades of advocacy, of allyship, of action, of work, of leadership. That's what that is. So listen, y'all. It's been fun hanging with y'all. I got to run. I got to finish getting this part of my face together, child, so that I can be ready for a Roland Martin at 6 p.m. Eastern. Come check me out. We ain't gonna be talking about none of this shit, child, but go ahead and check me out anyway on Roland Martin Unfiltered tonight. And y'all will see me back tomorrow. I'll be on my normal time at 5 p.m. I had to come a little bit early because I was like, I don't think that half an hour is going to be enough time for me to get through all this shit, okay? But tomorrow I'll be back at my normal time, 5 p.m. Eastern. So thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll chat about more shit tomorrow. Peace out, y'all.